Greetings, fellow moviegoers, and welcome to Movie Central, the place to talk about movies, TV shows based on movies, toys based on movies, games based on movies, and rides based on movies. I'm your host, Mr. CCS, and this is my pet gorilla, George. It's time, isn't it? It's time to review the final ever Star Wars movie. Well, let's get some brief background on what happened. So after the disaster that was The Last Jedi, I guess Lucasfilm gave up on their biggest franchise and just handed everything to be in the creators' hands. They jumbled together what best they could to make, well, something, I guess. I mean, J.J. Abrams was at the helm at least. Everything seemed fine and dandy. I mean, the movie didn't actually receive critical acclaim, being the lowest rated Star Wars movie on Rotten Tomatoes with a 53%. However, I've proven that they don't make your opinion on a film less valuable. So, was the final Star Wars film good? We're going to find out today. This is Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. When it's discovered that the evil Emperor Palpatine, played by Ian McDiarmid, did not die at the hands of Darth Vader, voiced by James Earl Jones and Hayden Christensen in cameo roles, the rebels must face a race against the clock to find out his whereabouts. Finn, played again by John Boyega, and Poe, played again by Oscar Isaac, led the resistance to put a stop to the First Order's plans to form a new empire, while Rey, played again by Daisy Ridley, anticipates her inevitable confrontation with Kylo Ren, played again by Adam Driver. This has got to be one of the laziest sounding plots ever, but I'm going to give it a huge amount of leeway because I heavily enjoyed this film. I'm serious. Come at me. I love this film. And I will always love it. But why? First, let's talk about the characters. Rey is no longer a one-dimensional character like she was in the last film. Instead, she's interesting to the very core, and that's because JJ absolutely loves the work he puts into his characters. So, he fixed her up. You'll see where I'm coming from when I tell you the 5 things that this film fixed from The Last Jedi. Finn has also been improved. This time, he has more screen time with Poe, and he actually does some cool stuff, as opposed to the last film where he was completely pointless. And like the former 2 characters I just listed, Poe is also better because Holdo isn't there to trash talk him anymore. Thank the maker! Also, the side characters have been fixed up from the last film. Leia means more to the story despite her only being an archive footage due to Carrie Fisher's passing, and Rose is not an annoying character anymore and has been really subdued here, and I can't thank JJ enough for doing that. Now we have our villains. Kylo Ren finally completes his arc from the previous 2 films. He takes the role of Supreme Leader after killing Snoke. He tries to help the Emperor, and he's finally turned to the light side after seeing an apparition of his father. Don't worry, we'll talk about that later. And as a result, he's still the best character in not just this film, but this entire trilogy. Now we have the Emperor. Oh boy, here we go. Whenever someone brings back a character who has seemingly been dead for a long time, it's usually lazy. And the cloning solution they did here was lazy, but somehow it really works for 2 reasons. The first reason is that cloning is possible in the Star Wars universe thanks to the establishments made in Episode 2. And the second reason is that we know the Palpatine isn't really cloned, thanks to one line from Revenge of the Sith. That line being, the dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. This very line was used in this very film, so we know that he used the dark side of the Force to carry his own body to Exegol. Yeah, I know, I just sounded like a nerd, but this honestly is what I think. And I had to thank the prequels for reminding the fans how this could have worked. Let me remind you, the prequels, which are hated by fans among the Star Wars community, actually fixed the Rise of Skywalker. Let that image sink in. Anyways, he's still threatening, and he makes an impression, making him one of the best villains in pop culture history. Now, we have some new characters too, but we barely know them that much. since we are just meeting them. Maybe we'll get a future TV show after the events of this film. And the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special doesn't count. Anyways, we still have Chewie, 3PO, and R2 in here as well, which is nice to know. I'll always love these three no matter what the occasion is. Now, we have some vocal cameos from some past Jedi, those being Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker, Frank Oz as Yoda, Samuel L. Jackson as Mace Windu, Freddie Prinze Jr. as Kanan Jarrus, Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka Tano, Angeline Perrin as Adi Gallia, Jennifer Hale as Ayla Sakura, and Olivia D'Abo as Luminara Unduli. I know, it's a lot, but it's nice to hear these characters again, especially because I'm currently watching the Star Wars Clone Wars TV show, which is so good if you haven't seen it already. Okay, enough about the characters. How are the visuals? Just like the last Star Wars films, you know the VFX are going to be amazing. All jokes aside, the VFX in this film looks so great. I can go on all day saying how real everything is, but we'd be here forever, so I won't. Now, the music was done once again, most likely for the final time, by John Williams, who incorporates several past scores from the Star Wars series. But it shows that this works because this is the last Star Wars film. Last Star Wars film. Anyways, the score is something that brings me back to the old days, something George Lucas would say. And how is the action? Well, it's very good. The scenes themselves are mostly made of CGI, but I can get past the fact because they are so fun to watch. My personal favorite scene that involves action is the scene on the second Death Star due to the suspense it gave me when I was watching it in the movie theater. Okay, now we come to the 5 things that this film improved on from The Last Jedi. Number 5, Rey's lineage. We know the BS Rian Johnson did with her lineage in the last one. And I said previously that if J.J. Abrams hadn't come back to fix the problem Johnson created, then that problem in The Last Jedi would have been bigger. And this wouldn't have been mentioned at all. But J.J. indeed fixed it the best he could. He made Rey a descendant of the Emperor, which was shocking and unnecessary move. At least in my opinion. It makes sense why she has improved force powers now. Why not just say that she was related to Palpatine in the last film? That would have been so much easier. Anyways, moving on. Number 4, the utilization of the side characters. The side characters from The Last Jedi have either been severely cut down or are all non-existent at all, which gives us a ton of breathing room to be with Finn and Poe, and that was a huge relief. Heck, they even made Rhodes a much better side character. And on top of that, they introduce new side characters who don't add unnecessary bloat, and they make sense. Why didn't they have J.J. Abrams come back for The Last Jedi? Disney and Kathleen Kennedy really screwed up in that matter. For all I know, they just wanted to piss on the fans. But now I'm just thinking out loud. Number 3, utilization of the villain. Snoke was a character that got killed off just as we were getting to know him, and that really made fans angry. So JJ fixed it by bringing back the Emperor, and he was awesome. He comes off like he did in Return of the Jedi in the prequel films as a villain who will manipulate people until he gets what he wants. Now, yes, I did kind of feel worried when I heard he was coming back after his satisfying death in Return of the Jedi, but my worries ended when he was this good of a character. Number 2, the original characters' utilization. The Last Jedi didn't take advantage of the characters from the original trilogy too much, with the exception of Luke Skywalker and how they butchered his character. However, with JJ at the helm, the characters from the original films are much more prominent. Leia and Han Solo actually matter in the case of Kylo Ren's arc, Luke matters towards Rey's arc, and pretty much every major Jedi ever matters towards Rey's arc as well. So these characters are necessary to give the hero the boost she needs to defeat her grandfather. But it still doesn't make up for, number 1, no unnecessary bloats. The Last Jedi had so much unnecessary bloat within it. The scenes I'm referring to are the Dark Side Cave and the casino scenes. Thankfully, J.J. Abrams used his time wisely and didn't make the movie feel bloated or boring. He made it feel like a Star Wars film, and I cannot thank him enough for that. It's safe to say that he knows Star Wars more than Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson, and Pablo Hidalgo. Unpopular opinion, I know, but I honestly think he's perfect for a job like this. I think he should start working with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau with future projects. Anyways, my final verdict is that Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is a perfect conclusion to a great franchise. With great characters, great visuals, great music, great action, and the fact that this film mixed everything The Last Jedi did, this movie is a movie that is one of the best in the whole franchise. Some may hate it, but I am one of the few that love it, which is why I'm giving it a solid 10 out of 10. What an amazing conclusion to an amazing franchise. Well, that's it for this review. What are your thoughts on The Rise of Skywalker? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Tune in next week when I take a look at Avengers Age of Ultron. But then where do I go from there? Overhead voice, can you help me with what franchise I can review next? Sure. How about Harry Potter? That seems like a franchise you'll be interested in. You know what? I'll do that. Thanks, Overhead voice. You're welcome. With all that said and done, my name is Mr. CCS. This is Movie Central, and on my friends is a wrap. See you next week.